It's been a while since I've been able to bring you guys any content, and I thought maybe this would be a good time for me to do a little impromptu roster review. So we are going to go through all of my raid teams and all the things that I've been focusing on. We'll probably talk about some of my pivots that I am going to be making, and in particular related to the Thorin release. And we'll maybe talk about some of the scores that I've been making. So let's go ahead and jump right in. And I'll just sort by power to start out with, just so you can get a look at my top 25 or 30. And let's start with Elves. So everybody knows Elves are sort of the raid kings and queens. My typical setup for Elves is going to be Lord Elrond, Elrohir, Arwen, and Elladan plus a fourth. So it really is sort of chapter dependent. For chapter 1, I'm actually been working on a couple of strategies to split my elves, and what I've been doing, let me see if I can find it. So what I've been doing with my elves is typically running Lord Elrond with Rumil and Lomian, as well as Loock and Mau. And the Loock is a 7-star. The Mau is a 5-star, and we'll take a look at those when I get to Isengard in a little bit. But it's a very interesting comp. Actually, seen a couple of people run it. One person in particular who showed it to me was Karamazov, who actually helped me with some of my glyph recommendations for my character cards. But I'm able to score 900k with that particular setup. And then the other elf team is a Legolas lead with Arwen, Elrohir, Elladan, and actually Halbrand as a 5th. So kind of the idea of splitting them up is to have kind of two teams that don't necessarily have 5 really great characters, but who are still able to score 900k. So really trying to min-max the score there and try to get to 5 900Ks, which I was able to accomplish the last couple of raids. And we can jump into a couple of these characters so you can get an idea for the ability levels. And I've spoken about this before, or I've at least put it in character cards and been talking about it on Discord. You know, the most important abilities for Elrond, obviously the first leader ability that you need to upgrade on any character in the game is Lord Elrond's leader ability. Maybe we could get into whether that should be Thorin if you go for Thorin as your first legendary unlock. But if you're going for elves, and you should be, then Lord Elrond needs to be your first leader upgrade. But also his heal and I call it surf special 2 ability need to be upgraded as well. For Elrohir, most important things are his passive and basic ability at tier 6. And I also think that Elven Vengeance is worthy of taking to tier 6 as well. For Elladan, the most important ability is Ancient Skill, the AoE. Everyone calls it Windmill, but you really need to have that one upgraded. For Arwen, the most important ability is the Evening Star for the immunity, and you really need to get that stamina charge down. But also the Deadly Earnest ability, the massive amount of turn meter that you get is going to help you with getting back around to your immunity for chapter 3. So very important for R1 as well. All right, so moving on, and I'm going to do bigger deep dives on these characters later on, so don't worry if you miss anything on all the other characters. But in the interest of time, I do want to move on to the next set of characters. So the next group is Herum. And Herum is a group that really struggled with just because of the amount of time that it takes to farm out Robel and Yeftu. I've got a little bit of a late start there. I've also been trying to push Tabeb, but as you can see, I finally got all 5 characters to Gear 8 and level 60. And this has made it very easy for me to get 900k in Chapter 1. It does take a little bit of setup, and you have to understand the fight, but you can definitely do it. It's also made it possible for me to get around 7 or 800k in Chapter 3 and over 600k in Chapter 2. Some of the key abilities that I'll mention really quick for Herum, I think that you have to have, are the passive ability for Robel, which allows you to always inflict Black Serpent Poison on crit. For Yeftu, I do think his passive is pretty important. You gain a lot of crit chance, and really this one should probably be taken to tier 6. I just haven't had the opportunity to yet. For Bekaloo, the most important thing is her basic attack. I kind of slept on it for a long time, but spoken to a few people and just seen how it's worked for them in the raid, and I just can't say enough about it. Getting the 2 stacks of poison for 2 turns on the troll is ridiculously good. So for Wubete, the horizontal slash, the AoE, getting that 2-turn slow. And then for Tabeb, this one you could argue, I think that her passive probably doesn't have to be taken this high, but I value being able to get a guaranteed item in situations like this. I don't want to sit around and wait for a 50% chance or a 70% chance to get regeneration. I'd rather just get the regeneration. And then for the healing ability, I think any character that heals, it's worth considering taking their heal to tier 5 or tier 6. But that's my Herum. Again, I mentioned the raid scores I'm getting with them, and I'm hoping to get those a little bit higher. I do have some videos coming out where I will showcase Herum. I know at least in Chapter 1 and maybe Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. So the next group of characters will be Road to Rivendell. Road to Rivendell, another team that I really slept on, and then I just, over time, people convinced me to go after them, and this was actually the second team that I was able to get a 900k run with, I believe. So you've already seen me talk at length about the importance of Road to Rivendell. There are a couple of key abilities for this team, and I'm able to get 900k Chapter 1, and I'm around the, I believe, and we can check this in a minute, but I believe I'm around 600 or 700k in both Chapters 2 and 3. Chapter 4 is a bit of a sore subject, but we'll take a quick look at the abilities here. I do have Burn the Shadows at tier 6. I think that one's very important for the troll, as well as burning down the Skull Crusher in Chapters 1 and 3, really more Chapter 1. And I also took Strider's leadership ability to tier 6. I do think that this is a very important one, in particular the damage. So I think you can get away with tier 4, but that getting that extra 5% damage really helped take the team up a notch for me. For Frodo, you could argue taking Courageous Spirit to tier 6, but I do think at tier 5 you're getting enough damage that it's sufficient. And I haven't really found a need to get that stamina cost reduced. It would be helpful, but haven't really found a need for it. I'm not trying to push this team to 1.5 mil in Chapter 1, and I don't really want to focus on them going forward. Darting Dagger is important. It's one of the 2 or 3 most important moves that you're going to need to take to tier 6 for this team, and it's really one of those moves that's required for this team to run. So tier 6 on Darting Dagger to get that guaranteed assist. Same thing for Mary. On Double Up, you really want to be able to call that assist, and it is crucial for Chapter 1. Okay, so Pippin Took. For this one, the heal, again, I've emphasized how important it is for your healer abilities to be as high as you can take them, and getting the stamina reduction here makes it incredibly easy to keep your team sustained. Sam, there's not really anything here that's moving the mark. I haven't really felt the need to upgrade his abilities further than this right now, just because he's really just a meat shield. He just sort of exists and kind of peels damage away from the other hobbits. Definitely helpful for Chapter 3, but otherwise nothing here that just has to be taken higher. Okay, and the next group is going to be Rohan. And really, we'll need to talk about a couple of other key characters here as well, but primarily we want to look at Lady Eowyn, Eothane, Éomer. This team is sort of a hybrid that I think it's ubiquitous among the community. We're kind of using these in tandem with Ironhide, Halberd, Naramiri, other key players. I think some people are running Naraz with this trio in Chapter 3 to great effect. Nothing really to say about these characters. I am getting 900k in Chapter 1 and Chapter 3 with my Rohan setup fairly easily. And Chapters 2 and Chapter 4 are a little bit problematic for this team, at least with the levels that I have them at. You can see I don't really have Eowyn's abilities taken too high. Valiant Protector is at tier 5 so that I can grant might to all the squad members. My Eothane is very undergeared. I do think that it's important to have the guaranteed or increased exposed duration from Spear of Rohan, and then any health you can get on him is pretty important. So really, I would consider taking this a little bit higher if I cared more about my Rohan team. Let's see. So here's Éomer, and I think Brotherly Devotion is the most important ability for Éomer. You're going to always gain assistance at tier 5, so that's really important. You could make the argument that Marshal's Command should be taken higher, and I probably should take it higher. I've just been focusing more on a couple of other characters that we will talk about in a second, but this is passable for me. I probably will have to take this a little bit higher to make my scores more consistent in the future, but we'll see how that goes. All right, let's take a look at a few other sort of plug-and-play characters that I've been using that I haven't spoken about yet. As Ironhide, I'm typically using Ironhide with my Rohan team. I've seen some comps where he's been used with other teams, especially now that people are running in with 3x Bloodlust glyph sets, and they're able to get all that turn meter manipulation. But most important abilities here are going to be his 2 AoEs. Enough said there. But you really want to get that stamina cost reduced for Taste of Iron so that you can run it as many times as you can in a battle. Let's see. There were a couple of others. We do want to look at Loock and Mau here, and I can show you my full Isengard team. I really stopped investing in them because there were other characters that I cared more about, and you'll see where from all the other teams that we've went through why I quit investing in them. I've really been focusing on my Rohan, my Haradrim, and my Road to Rivendell. But I did go ahead and get Mau here up to 5-star, and I maxed out Loock as much as I could, or at least as much as I could stomach. The others, I just don't see value in taking a team up just for one chapter, and you'll see that in the fact that I did not go for Gondor and didn't go for a couple of other teams for that reason. But Loock and Mau here are very important together for chapter 1, and the reason why is Dirty Work is a team-up attack between Loock and Mau here, and you don't need these characters super high. The abilities are mostly tier 4 here. Same for Mau here, tier 4. But Twist the Knife is a team-up attack that calls Loock to assist. So they both have a team-up attack that can call the other to assist. Very important for getting stacks on the bomber. And so that's the reason why I run Mau here and Loock with Elrond. Elrond's able to get a bunch of sustain. He's able to slow the other team and keep everyone alive. And then if you run these two as well as Rumil, you have 3 different characters who can call assist, and it's very easy to stack up and team up on the bomber that way. So I hope you find that helpful. And again, I'll be shooting a video to showcase that strategy very soon. There's Isengard. We already really talked about Balan's expedition. Well, we talked about Rumil, but Lord Balan is probably one of my favorite characters in the game. Really well-designed character. You can see I don't have a ton of investment in Lord Balan, and he's really able to get me my 900Ks in chapter 3 and 4. And actually, I'm able to do 1.5 million in chapter 3 now. So I've shifted Lord Balan over to a hybrid team in chapter 3 that I've been working on. And I just unlocked Gandalf, which we'll talk about soon. Super excited about that. So I have Balan running on that team now. But in chapter 4, he is the catalyst still to get a 900K, and really highly recommend that anyone build him, especially new players. This character is easily accessible. He's now farmable on a really early node. So I am pushing to get him to 5-star as quick as I can, and I'll keep going after I get there. I've actually been doubling up on those farming nodes. But most important abilities here, just quickly, Strength of Durin. You want to get that to tier 4 so that you always cleanse a Bane. Very important for chapters 3 and 4. And then Mazarbul's Reckoning. You want to get that to tier 4 to get the stamina cost reduction, so that you're cleansing tons of Banes off of your Dwarf and Elf allies. Super awesome character. And once Orphan and Rumil are on farmable nodes, hopefully they're on good farmable nodes, that team is just going to be super amazing. Okay, I think we've talked about most of the big characters that I'm already using in the raid. I'll scroll back through really quickly. We did talk about Halberd. Not really a character I can recommend that anyone farm right now, but he has been useful for Chapter 3 to do a little bit of cheesing. And, you know, he's found use in some of my other 900k teams. A few little stupid passion projects that I have in here. I should not have built the Black Beast team yet, but I am going to be building that team when I get the opportunity. And you can see I've been working a little bit on my dwarves. Suppose I can show you a better view of those. So here's my dwarf setup. I did not go for Thorin, and we can look at the progress that I've made so far on my goblins. I have pivoted officially to go for goblins. I'm still working on my 7th star for my Haradrim characters as well as my Rohan characters. I want to go ahead and finish those out, but I am mostly spending time working on my dwarf characters and my goblins. So I don't really care as much about Fro anymore, since Fro was not a requirement to get Thorin. I was working on her a little bit, really just trying to get those Philly shards from the daily login. So I haven't really been farming his node, but been working on Biffer and Killy a little bit, and super excited to have them up and running, particularly Killy and Philly, just because of their synergy for chapters 1 and 2. And I mentioned I would show you my goblins. You can see my Naraz here. I'm considering starting to farm Naraz, but here are my goblins. They've got a little bit of work to do. I'm not super concerned about Grimpa. I know I can get Grimpa to 6 or 7 star really fast with gems, doing refreshes on guild nodes. Golbers, I went ahead and got to, I believe I have enough shards for 5 star for Golbers. Great Goblin, if I have to, I will probably soon start farming Great Goblin with gems. I'm really hopeful that he will go to a node, but if he doesn't, I'm at least going to prepare myself for a 5 star unlock with Thorin by buying him with gems, and we'll go from there. Orphers and Chef Kraska, I've been doing at least 1 sim a day on those, and considering starting to do 2 sims a piece for those characters, just to try to get them to 5 star at a minimum. Would like to get them further than that. Definitely would like to get a 6 star Thorin first or second time around. And then really the last one to talk about, and I'll make a video on the unlock. I think I filmed when I got the last shard to unlock Gandalf, but I'm super excited about Gandalf. You can see I have him glyphed right now with Last Stand and Bloodlust. I feel like pretty much everything could be glyphed with Last Stand and Bloodlust at this point. But very interesting kit, really cool character. I think I'm focusing on Flame of Anor for my first maxed out ability here, and I do have enough ability mats to take 2 leaderships to max. I believe I'm going to go for Gandalf and then save the others for Thorin when I get the Thorin unlock. But there is a pretty full accounting of my roster. I hope you enjoyed it. I know this has been sort of a longer video for my channel, but something that I think is important. I know I saw Teacher make a comment about this recently, and I think it kind of hits close to home. If you're going to make content about the game, you really want to be able to sort of back up what you're saying. And I'm hoping that going through my roster and giving you a deep dive, giving you a full accounting of what I'm working on, where I'm taking my roster, will maybe give you some assurance that what I'm telling you should do is what I'm doing as well. So hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Quantum out.